All right, so today we're doing something a little different.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going way back in time
Okay.
to ancient Israel
All right.
to look at the book of Joshua,
Interesting.
chapters 20 through 24.
That's
That's kind of like the final season
okay.
of this really long saga
Gotcha.
where Joshua, the leader
Okay.
who brought the Israelites to the promised land,
Right.
is giving his last words and setting the stage
Interesting.
for what's to come.
It's really captivating when you think about it. The gravity of these final acts, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine leading a nation into a new era,
Right.
knowing your time is almost up.
Exactly.
What wisdom would you want to impart? What legacy would you hope to leave behind?
Right.
And that's kind of the heart of what we're looking at today.
Yeah, it's like a farewell address, but with an epic historical twist, right?
Right.
We're talking about shaping the destiny of a whole nation.
Exactly.
So let's dive right in, chapter 20, where Joshua establishes the cities of refuge.
Okay.
These cities sound pretty intriguing. What was their purpose?
So these cities were meant to be safe havens,
Interesting.
places of refuge
Cool.
for people who accidentally killed someone.
Hmm.
Think about it. You're
Yeah.
going about your day,
Right.
and then just a series of unfortunate events,
Right.
you end up taking someone's life unintentionally.
Yeah.
And in those days, the consequences were severe.
Right. Even if it wasn't on purpose.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
That's where the cities of refuge come in.
Okay.
It wasn't about evading justice,
Gotcha.
but ensuring a fair trial and offering protection from those seeking revenge.
So it's like a legal safeguard
Exactly.
to make sure there's due process, but also acknowledging that sometimes harm is unintentional.
Exactly.
Wow, it's a really interesting balance
Yeah,
of justice and mercy.
absolutely. The Israelite legal system
Yeah.
recognized that compassion was crucial, even in the midst of tragedy.
Right, but there's a detail in chapter 20 that adds another layer to this.
Oh,
It mentions that someone accused of manslaughter
okay.
could stay in the city of refuge
Mm-hmm.
until the death of the high priest.
Interesting.
Wait, the death of the high priest?
Yeah.
Why was that significant?
Well, the high priest's death
Okay.
was a major event for the Israelites.
Okay.
It marked a significant transition. It's almost like a reset button for the community.
Interesting.
It was believed to bring atonement,
Uh-huh.
a cleansing for the community as a whole.
Gotcha.
And so allowing someone accused of manslaughter
Okay.
to leave the city of refuge after that
Right.
symbolized a fresh start, a chance to reintegrate into society
Yeah.
with hopefully forgiveness and reconciliation.
Wow. That's a detail I'd never considered.
Yeah.
Like saying, okay, we've gone through this process
Right.
of seeking justice and offering refuge, and now it's time for a new beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really shows how they understood human nature,
Yeah.
that we make mistakes, that sometimes tragedy happens
Right.
unintentionally,
Yeah.
and that there's a need for restoration,
Right.
not just punishment.
It makes you wonder how our modern legal systems could incorporate those elements,
Right.
compassion and reconciliation.
It really raises some thought-provoking questions.
It does.
And it highlights how relevant these ancient texts are.
Absolutely.
They deal with these fundamental human dilemmas that we still face today.
Okay, so let's move on to chapter 21,
All right.
where we meet the Levites
Okay.
and their unique inheritance.
Interesting.
They don't receive a plot of land
Right.
like the other tribes,
Yeah.
but instead they're given cities scattered throughout the territories.
Okay.
What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, think of the Levites as a spiritual backbone of Israelite society.
Right.
They were the priestly tribe,
Gotcha.
responsible for maintaining the rituals and traditions that connected the people to their faith.
Yeah.
Imagine elaborate ceremonies, animal sacrifices, festivals, the daily upkeep of the tabernacle, all designed to foster awe and connection with the divine.
So they're kind of like
Yeah.
the keepers of the sacred flame, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by placing them throughout the land,
Right.
it ensured that everyone, regardless of where they lived,
Yeah.
had access to these rituals and the Levites' guidance.
So it's like having spiritual advisors within each community.
Exactly. You didn't have to travel far
Right.
to connect with your faith.
Exactly, or seek guidance.
And it speaks volumes about how important they thought it was to integrate faith into everyday life.
Exactly.
It wasn't just a Sunday morning activity.
Right.
It was woven into the fabric of their existence. It really was.
Okay, now, Chapter 22 throws us a curveball.
Oh.
Almost leading to a war between the tribes.
Okay.
The tribes who settled on the east side of the Jordan decide to build an altar.
All right.
And it sparks fear and outrage in the other tribes.
Okay.
Why such a strong reaction?
Well, remember, the Israelites had just come out of slavery in Egypt, followed by 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. They were finally establishing themselves in the Promised Land, and their unity
as a nation, their commitment to God
was paramount.
So any deviation from that unity was seen as a threat.
It was a big deal. When the other tribes saw this altar being built on the east side of the Jordan, they immediately thought the worst rebellion, rejection of their faith, the potential to fracture the nation they had worked so hard to build.
Imagine the rumors spreading, the fear taking hold.
Exactly, as a powder keg.
Yeah, ready to explode. Okay, so let's break down what actually happened. What was the purpose of this altar? Did these tribes really intend to break away and worship other gods?
Not at all.
Okay.
It turns out the altar wasn't meant to replace the central place of worship. These tribes, Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh, they wanted to create a visual reminder of their connection to the other tribes.
Interesting.
A symbol of their shared faith and their commitment to the same God.
So it's like a giant billboard saying, hey, we might be over here, but we're still with you.
Exactly.
But that message got lost in translation big time.
It did.
Yeah, it's a classic case of assume makes an ass out of you and me.
Exactly. Yeah. And this story underscores how important clear communication is. Especially when you're dealing with faith and identity. Imagine if they had just sent a messenger explaining their intentions before they started construction. A simple conversation could have prevented a near catastrophe.
It's a powerful lesson.
It is.
That resonates even today. Think about all the conflicts that stem from miscommunication and assumptions.
Exactly.
A failure to understand each other's perspectives. Sometimes all it takes is a willingness to listen, to clarify, to bridge that gap in understanding.
It's a timeless insight.
Yeah.
And one that Joshua, in his wisdom, seems to understand deeply. And as we move into chapters 23 and 24, we see him preparing to give his final message to the Israelites, knowing that their future will depend on the choices they make and their ability to stay unified and uphold their values that brought them this far.
Okay, so let's dive into these farewell addresses. What's the core message he's trying to get across?
Well, there's a real sense of urgency in his words. An awareness that he won't be around to guide them forever. He starts by recounting all that God has done for them. From the exodus from Egypt to the parting of the Red Sea, the years of provision in the wilderness, and finally the conquest of the Promised Land.
He's reminding them of God's faithfulness across generations, painting a picture of their history and the journey that brought them to this point.
It's like he's saying, don't forget where you came from, all that you've overcome, and the one who made it all possible.
Exactly.
But he also knows that human nature is, human nature.
Human nature.
He's seen the Israelites struggle with temptation, doubt, disobedience throughout their journey. And so he warns them with this fatherly concern about the dangers ahead.
What dangers is he most worried about?
He's particularly concerned about the influence of the surrounding nations, the allure of their customs, their gods, their way of life, assimilation, the blending of cultures. It can be a powerful force, especially for a new nation surrounded by different beliefs and practices. He warns them against intermingling with these nations, against adopting their ways, against forgetting their covenant with God, and the unique identity that set them apart.
It's like he's saying, you fought so hard to get here, to establish your own nation, your own way of life. Don't lose sight of who you are, of what you stand for.
Yeah, he's trying to instill in them vigilant awareness that their future depends not just on military strength or boundaries, but on the strength of their faith, their commitment, their willingness to resist temptation that could lead them astray.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Instead of laying down the law, dictating every move, Joshua takes a different approach.
Interesting.
He gathers the leaders and the people at Shechem in chapter 24 and delivers a speech that will echo throughout history.
Wow.
He doesn't tell them what to do.
Okay.
He gives them a choice.
This is where we get one of the most powerful lines in the whole book.
All right.
Choose you this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Wow.
It's a declaration of personal conviction and a challenge to the nation.
Right.
He's acknowledging their free will, their ability to choose their path,
while
also making his stance clear.
He's saying, look, I can't force you. You have to decide for yourselves. But I'm putting my stake in the ground. I'm choosing to follow God. And I invite you to join me.
Powerful moment.
It is, and I think it speaks to us even today.
How so?
We all face choices, big and small, that shape our lives, our destinies.
It's not just a historical event.
Yeah.
It's a timeless challenge.
Exactly.
What will you choose to serve?
Yeah.
What will be the guiding force in your life?
Right.
It's a question we face every day.
It is.
In different ways.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, it's incredible to think about the weight of that moment.
Yeah.
You know, Joshua standing before all the Israelites, presenting them with this choice that would determine their future.
Yeah.
It wasn't a command. It was like an invitation to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
And their response is just as remarkable.
Yeah.
They pledge allegiance to God. Go ahead. Reaffirming that covenant made by their ancestors.
It's almost like a collective sigh of relief.
Right.
Phew, we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
But to make this commitment more than just words, Joshua sets up a physical reminder.
Right. Yes, he erects a stone.
Okay.
This tangible symbol of their vows.
It's like a powerful image.
Yeah.
A stone, sturdy and enduring.
Right.
Representing the strength of their decision.
Exactly.
To follow this path.
Yeah.
It's like a monument to their commitment.
Yeah.
A reminder for future generations. Of the choice they made.
At that pivotal moment.
It's like saying, let this stone be a witness to our promise.
Exactly.
It's a pretty powerful way to seal the deal.
It is.
But, you know, as we're talking about Joshua's legacy, it wasn't just about military victories, right? Or dividing up the land.
Yeah.
It was about instilling values, a way of life for them to carry forward.
Right.
Even after he was gone.
You're absolutely right. He wasn't just a conqueror.
Right.
He was a nation builder.
Yeah.
He left them with a framework for justice. Like the cities of refuge.
Exactly.
A system for spiritual guidance.
Right.
With the Levites throughout the land.
Yeah.
But maybe most importantly, he instilled in them a sense of personal responsibility.
Right.
Emphasizing that their future was tied to their faithfulness to God.
And by framing it as a choice, choose you this day whom you will serve.
Right.
He empowered them to take ownership of their destiny.
Exactly. It wasn't preordained.
Right.
They had to actively choose their path.
And that message resonates.
Yeah.
Even today. We often think of history as something that just happened.
Right.
Events beyond our control.
Yeah.
But Joshua's story reminds us.
Right.
It's shaped by choices.
Yeah.
Big and small.
By individuals and communities.
It's like saying, yes, there are external forces, but ultimately we have the power to choose how we respond, how we shape our lives, how we contribute.
It's a message of empowerment.
It is.
Of agency.
Absolutely.
And it's a powerful thing because sometimes we feel helpless.
Right.
Or apathetic.
Especially when we face overwhelming challenges.
Right.
But Joshua's story reminds us that even when we face uncertainty, as one chapter closes and another begins, we have the power to choose to act, to make a difference. Yeah.
Exactly.
But speaking of chapters closing, there's something we haven't touched on yet that I find fascinating.
Okay.
Even in his final days, Joshua's dealing with loose ends, ongoing challenges.
Right.
that require his attention.
Okay.
I'm talking about those tribes who had settled on the east side of the Jordan.
Okay.
Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh.
Yeah.
They requested their inheritance.
That's right.
Before the conquest was even finished, right?
They did.
Yeah.
They were mainly livestock herders.
Oh.
And they saw the land east of the Jordan as ideal for their needs.
Perfect.
For their flocks.
Yeah, it's fertile and spacious.
Right.
Perfect for grazing their herds.
Exactly. But this caused tension, didn't it?
It did.
Because it seemed like they were prioritizing their own interests over the unity of the nation.
Right.
Like, hey, we've got ours. Yeah. Good luck with the rest of the conquest.
Yeah, there were concerns that they were distancing themselves.
Right.
Geographically and spiritually.
Right, from the rest of Israel.
Some questioned their commitment to the cause, wondering if they were truly invested
in building a unified nation.
So how did Joshua address this?
Well, he didn't try to force them back or punish them.
Okay.
He took a much wiser approach.
Okay.
He reminded them of their obligations to the other tribes, emphasizing that even though they had received their inheritance, they were still part of the nation, still bound by the covenant they had all made with God.
Gotcha.
He wanted to make sure they understood that their responsibility didn't end with securing their own territory. They had a role to play in the success and security of the entire nation.
So even as he was preparing to leave, he was working to keep everyone together, making sure they understood their interdependence. It's a testament.
It is.
To his leadership.
Right up to the very end.
Right to the very end.
And it shows that leadership is often about navigating these ongoing tensions, balancing individual needs with the collective good.
Right. It's not always about grand pronouncements or heroic feats.
It's about the day-to-day work of keeping everyone connected, reminding them of their shared purpose, making sure no one is left behind.
And that's something we still see playing out in societies today.
Well, absolutely.
Trying to find that balance between individual freedom and collective responsibility.
Yeah, it's a timeless challenge.
It is.
That dance between the needs of the one and the needs of the many.
Absolutely.
And Joshua's story offers some insights into how to approach these challenges with wisdom, compassion, and commitment to the greater good.
Okay, so we've talked about Joshua's final acts as leader, explored the legal and spiritual systems he put in place.
Yeah, and we grappled with his powerful call to choose. We've seen how he dealt with complex issues, addressed divisions, worked to secure the future of the nation.
Of the nation he helped establish.
Exactly.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but wonder what happens next? What becomes of the Israelites? After Joshua's gone, do they stay true to the covenant? Do they face new challenges?
Interesting questions.
Do they thrive?
Well, that's a story for another deep dive. But let's just say the choices they make, the lessons they learn, the challenges they face, they all have huge implications for their future.
For the future of their nation.
And for the unfolding story of their faith.
Oh, that's a great cliffhanger. And it's the perfect segue to our final thoughts for today.
It's fascinating, right? It is. We've seen Joshua lay the groundwork, establish systems of justice, spiritual guidance, and really emphasize the importance of choosing wisely.
It's like he gave them all the tools, the blueprint, the inspiration. But it's up to them to use it.
It is, and that's what's so amazing about it. It's not a predetermined outcome.
Exactly.
You know, their future is in their hands. It reminds me of that saying.
What's that?
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah, perfect analogy. Joshua led them to the promised land, gave them his wisdom. But it's their actions, their choices.
Their choices,
They'll determine what happens next.
Exactly.
It's almost like a relay race, you know.
I like that. He's passing the baton. And now it's up to them to run with it.
Yeah, and that's a powerful takeaway for us, too.
Absolutely.
How so?
Well, we all inherit legacies from our families, our communities, the societies we're born into. You're given values, traditions, ways of seeing the world. But it's up to us to decide what to do with that inheritance.
Right. Do we just follow blindly?
Right.
Or do we rebel?
Or do we take the best parts?
Yeah.
And build something new?
Yeah. It's like we're all part of this ongoing story.
Exactly.